Welcome to the Record Collectors Club Conversations podcast. Thanks for everybody for joining us. On this week's podcast, I've got a special guest coming all the way from Los Angeles, Brian Garcia. Brian's been a long time fan of a British band called Oasis, which I'm sure everybody knows. He's a big memorabilia and merchandise collector of the band. And obviously we know that Oasis have just reformed after 16-year hiatus. So this interview is kind of quite timely. Honestly, Brian's got the most insane collection of Oasis items I've ever seen. It is mental. And his collection ranges from set lists to drum skins to guitars to loads of rare things signed by the band and Oasis personnel and things like that. So thanks for joining us, Brian. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to this.
No problem. So we'll just dig in some of the questions that I'd already sent across to you. So
yeah.
Your obsession with Oasis, how did it start and what was the draw to the band in the first place for you?
Right. So the obsession, it's something I've long analyzed, and that's the obsession part of me is something that I think is inherent to my nature. I've always been, when I go in hard, like I love hard and I focus. I have like this tunnel vision of what I want. And I don't really stray from that. And I think that's a big reason of how this collection got so big, because I have blinders on. Like when I'm doing something, like I have the world like fades away. It's just the outline of what I want, and like the world fades away. Right. So this obsession started from like a really young age. I think it's like a personality trait of mine. But it doesn't diminish the fact that Oasis, obviously we know, and we're seeing now that they are like musical, like luminaries.
Yeah.
Because let's take another band, like take any band you want, pick it off the shelf, put it in Oasis's place. They would not create the craze and the hysteria that they're generating right now. Mm-hmm. So it's a beautiful thing. And I think I was at the right time, at the right age, with the right mindset to put me on this track. And I don't, it's something that is part of me now, and this music like lives like very nostalgically. It's like it's almost like it's become like an identity, I think, so much like with social media now. Like I can't like detach from that, which I don't want to. It's beautiful. It's a lot of beautiful things come from it. But so that's how I got into it. 13 years old.
13 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so in terms of the musically, then obviously Oasis have had so many records out. We don't know whether they are going to record any new music, but in terms of a favorite Oasis record, what would that be, and kind of why? Is it hard? Is it easy to pick one? Is it hard to pick?
Yeah, no. That's definitely easy, because it's the one that changed like the entire like outlook, and like I guess the landscape of my life like has changed like since then. Yeah. And I don't say that as hyperbole. I say that as a fact, as something that is an embodiment of everything around me. I look around my house, and like you can't deny the existence and the impact that What's the Story Morning Glory like had on me. I've told the story before in different outlets, like and on my page, that the moment that really changed it for me, it wasn't Definitely Maybe, although I did enjoy the album, but I was too entrenched in my Nirvana obsession that pulling me out of that was What's the Story Morning Glory. And it was when I heard Don't Look Back in Anger that like this new vista of life like came, like was before me, and like things like had color. Like it went from like monochrome to like technicolor, like that. Yeah. It was like instant. So without a doubt, What's the Story Morning Glory. The album cover is iconic. The tracks on it are known worldwide, whether you know Oasis or not. Yeah. You know audio. You know the tracks. And you can identify. Like, oh, I've definitely heard that song, because I've met people before. They're like, who's Oasis? And I'm like, oh, Wonderwall. And they're like, oh yeah. So Morning Glory, hands down.
It's that one. Cool. Okay. And then just getting into the memorabilia side of it then. So how did that start, and what was the first kind of pieces that you picked up?
Right. So that started, I've always been a collector by nature. Simultaneously, like with Oasis memorabilia, I was collecting like G-Shock watches.
Okay.
I had like about 350 like G-Shock watches. I've always been like and never touched them. I'm always so an aspect of me, I don't think I've ever talked about this, but an aspect of me, an aspect that comes with the collecting is the preservation.
Yeah.
I'm big on like curating and preserving and maintaining the integrity of whatever it is I buy. If it's a watch, I would keep it in the box. I wouldn't remove the plastic. I would keep the price tags on everything. Um, so that is part of all this Oasis like obsession. So I've always been inherently a collector. And like I said with the previous question, when I go in on something, I go in hard, and I don't really allow anything to detract from that. And it's always been Oasis. And although I do love other bands,
Mhm.
it's not with the same intensity as it is with Oasis. So Oasis is like it's like this through line
Yeah.
that like exists within me. And I think with all fans, I think we can all relate to that when we hear these songs.
Hmm.
It's like how do you like even if you don't have a physical like large Oasis collection, the collection you have or the collection of memories you have, and it's always Oasis. It's always like that music.
Hmm.
Just like all the records behind you, like
Yeah.
I know you probably have like a favorite. You can look at all these albums and you're just like, well, if the house were to burn down, I'm taking that one, you
Yeah.
know. So it's a common quality I think that exists within all fans and all people with like passion.
Hmm. Okay. So what was the first kind of piece of memorabilia that you started to kind of, or what was the first piece
All
you,
right,
oh, you quite,
right. So the first piece I collected that was promo item was probably the standing on the shoulder of giants promo coin
okay.
or the Vox box. I think that we're
Yeah.
all familiar with. It comes with the cardboard box, and I just remember the oddity of it, and the things that and those are what really grabbed my attention. Like the crazier it is, like the more I want it. It's like a promo coin. Like what other band makes promo coins like
Yeah.
Oasis does?
Yeah.
And the Vox box was like it's real quirky. So
Hmm.
the more rare or the more like off the wall it is, the more I want it. So those were the ones that really like stick out as the front runners in my collection. And then it all kind of just like built around those two common items, and then it just like spiraled out into this tornado.
Okay. And then do you have an idea of how many pieces you've got kind of now?
If I were to, so I was asked this question, been asked this question, and I don't know if I've really given like a an appropriate answer because the more I look at it now that Oasis have reformed, like I'm starting to pull things out, and like just the paperwork alone, and like promo coins and like passes and itineraries, I would, if you were to count each thing individually, set list, lyrics, paperwork, at least 2,000,
Wow.
at least 2,000 individual items. So yeah, and it grows every day.
Yeah.
Every day it grows slowly. And now with the reunion, even more things. This year's crazy. I don't know if we know about like these auctions that are going up. It's just like there's like 18 Noel Gallagher guitars going up in one auction, and then there's like three other guitars in another. So there's 21 guitars out on the market, which is insane.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm glad, for that reason alone, we see the impact it has on the market, and
Mhm.
that's just with memorabilia collecting. So
Yeah.
it's insane.
Yeah. Okay. And then would you be able to pick a favorite piece or would that be too difficult?
Now, I've thought about this long and hard, and I've always said some might say lyrics, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's going to be the Live Forever lyrics, and it's just because. So Noel, so I'll give a little backstory on these lyrics. Noel wrote these Live Forever lyrics live on the air on Talk Sport
Yep.
for charity, and it was August of 2014, and they went on eBay. And at the time, I wasn't tech savvy enough to know like how to put in a bid on eBay UK because it wasn't available in the US to bid on. So I got a really good friend, Mike Hughes, who is a fellow G-Shock collector, and I was like, "Hey man," I was like, "Can you please set an alarm for this date? Please put in this max bid at like the final like 2 seconds." And I remember being on the phone with him. I was at work. I remember everything about this moment. And it was down to like I was watching it on my phone. It's like we were losing the auction. We were losing and had 5 seconds to go, and I'm seeing like the red numbers like click five, four, three, two. And then when the page like refreshed, like because we had lost it, we visually on the phone, we had lost the bid
Yeah.
at 2 seconds. And when the page refreshed to like finalize the final the total,
Mhm.
like we ended up winning the lyrics. And I just remember feeling like this chilling sensation, this like it was very like just alone and like very like cold sensation of like
Yeah.
losing the
Okay.
lyrics. And I think the excitement and what they are inherently is what really I think would stand out as a number one piece, just because of the backstory, just because of the impossibility of it, and then all the moving parts that had to happen. The time, uh, that he could have been busy
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
So, or he may have whatever reasons, but that is it. The Live Forever lyrics, I think, just now, especially since the reunion has happened, I think the Live Forever lyrics because that is just an iconic song.
Okay. So obviously the podcast it's off the back of a lot of vinyl collecting and things like that. And one of the questions I
Yeah,
have is obviously, is there any vinyl records in your collection? I can see some behind you on this on the screen
yeah,
now. What kind of collection have you got in terms of the records?
right. So I was just mentioned like the things that really like attract me. I do have vinyl, so let me answer that. I do have vinyl. I had a lot of vinyl recently until I traded it all. I traded like all my test pressings.
Wow.
I had I had like test pressings. I had the Can You See It Now test pressing, which is pretty rare.
Mm.
Um, I had just so many like rare vinyl, but I ended up trading them for like more memorabilia just because the memorabilia I was trading it for was one off.
Okay.
I really get fixated on it being like the only one in existence.
Yeah.
I feel if there's like two test pressings, I'm like, I can find another, you know, essentially I could find another when another one exists. But when it's a one off, like I really focus on that. But yes, so I do own vinyl. I own some acetates from I have a Wonderwall acetate, Whitfield Street acetate, the Roll With It acetate. Do you know what I mean? Acetate. I have a few a few other like vinyl, obviously just for basic collecting.
Yeah.
But I'm really into items that display. Um, although I do love artwork,
Hmm.
and I have vinyl in other formats. So then I have vinyl in like that come with box sets and things like that. So I have a few, but those are the standout ones as far as like acetates and like the rare ones. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then that was a nice segue because you just mentioned artwork there. Obviously, the artwork that's gone into a lot of the Oasis records was done by Brian Cannon.
yeah,
And having a look on your Instagram previously, I know that you know Brian a little bit as well. How did that kind of
yeah,
relationship form?
yeah. So obviously we know Brian's a genius at creating sleeves, and there's
Mm.
just this something magic that happens when he touches. He's like Midas. He just like touches an album sleeve and it's like gold. Uh, but so I met Brian via so I had him on Facebook first. Obviously, you search out your heroes and people like you want to see. So I had him on Facebook, and then it wasn't until 2014 that Ignition had invited me out to the Chasing the Sun exhibition in London.
Yep.
And seeing the promotions, I knew that Brian was going to be there. He was going to be present. He was going to give a talk. I made him like this Oasis plaque, and I wanted to give it to him as a gift. I ended up giving it to him as a gift. Very, very nice and accepting, and his girlfriend Jill just like really loved it, and that they were very touched by it. And then after that, um, that night he's like, "Oh, you should come stay with us, come visit us sometime." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. You're Brian Cannon, you want me at your house, and you just say hi and bye, you forget about it."
Yeah.
I came back to the States. I'm on Facebook, and about 2 or 3 months later, I get this message, and the message pops up. He goes, "Ding," and it's like Brian Cannon. It says, "So when are you going to come visit?" And I'm like he's talking to me like what's going on with my life? And so yeah, I went to go visit him. We hung out, we had a great time. He took my engagement photo, which he did in the most incredible like impromptu like engagement photo. And so big honor and respect to Brian for a lot of the things that our friendship has brought apart from Oasis.
Yeah.
uh so yeah, so that's how I met Brian, and then we've been friends ever since.
That's really cool. Yeah, he seems like a
Yeah,
really nice guy, Brian.
yeah,
Obviously his place in the Lake District, the Microdot Studios, is getting a lot of press recently, and yeah, it looks like a really. I've not had a chance to get there yet, but I need to really get there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's blowing up, especially now with the reunion. I was just
Yeah,
looking at the site. Today's got a lot of new stuff on there.
that's it. Yeah. All right then. So let's talk about the reunion then.
Right?
Because I mean, 2 weeks ago, none of us thought ever this was ever going to happen. Did you ever think it was going to happen?
No, that's easy. It's as much as I would love to say I was like I was like the pioneer of like hope and we're gonna do this,
Yeah.
we will live again. I did like this is the I think I was the most shocked out of everybody because I was seeing the momentum build like a day or two before the announcement. And it's like they're gonna announce, and I was like, dude, no, there's no way that they're going to announce. This is not gonna happen. So when it finally came to, I just remember waking up in the middle of the night and I opened my phone and just like my phone was like lit with it's like a Christmas tree with just notifications of like Oasis are back together. And I was like, I couldn't wrap my head around it. Like I was trying to shake the sleep off, and I'm like, you know, scrolling through my phone, and I'm like, wow, this is happening.
Mhm.
And as they progressively, like as we know, they announced more dates. It's becoming more real.
Mm.
You know, it was still hard for me to grasp the the realness of it happening. And you know, it's still a year away, so who knows what will happen between
Yeah.
now and then. The world, maybe a world tour will happen. You know, I'm hopeful for that.
Mhm.
You know, so all fans can see him in all corners of the world. So I was the first to say no, and I was the most shocked, and I'm still processing that shock. I'm trying to like flush that out of me. So yeah, and it's great, and a lot of new people have started to like come back into my life, like old friends and maybe people I went to concerts with, and people online, just people I would never expect to like reach out to me, have like reached out to me. People who are like famous. I'm like you're like what's going on? Like that's the impact Oasis has. It's not about me. It's like the impact Oasis has on other people to make things happen. So that's really cool.
All right. Yeah. So we can't really not talk about the reunion without, and I'm not sure if you're aware of all the ticket pricing situation that's happened over
Mm,
here. You know, and they have announced more dates. In my opinion, 'cause I mean, I've managed to get tickets for two of the concerts,
mm,
only through friends doing it because I wasn't able
right.
to get them on the day because I was doing something else. Unfortunately, I was at a festival. But yeah, what's your kind of thoughts on the situation with the ticket prices? Is it fair? Obviously, I don't think it is, but
Hmm.
my friends were online for some of them were online for 6 or 7 hours trying to get tickets on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
It was crazy, and we knew the craziness. It was going to be the hype was going to be there. Did you think it was ever going to be as crazily hyped as it actually
No.
was?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And you said, just like you said, you had friends like that were online 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah.
And same in my case, like, and I mean, they were glued to the screen,
Mhm.
and I would never have imagined that because, like, even when Oasis was at their height, at the height of the frenzy and the madness, like that wasn't like something that happened like to wait. I mean, maybe if you wanted to like queue in a line, but you could still manage to get tickets.
Yeah.
Like this is like a commodity now, and like it's it's a side effect, unfortunately, but it's the nature of the beast.
Mhm.
And it's like, is it fair? No. Ultimately, it's not fair, especially like if you're going in with like a genuine like love for the band, and to capitalize on that weakness or that need of fans, like that aspect of it, I don't agree with, like capitalizing on people's needs.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. But ultimately, it's the nature of the beast. And what in my experience, I've overpaid for things. Um, and at the time, like it hurts, you know, it really kind of like twists your neck a little bit. But after I just realized, like, you know what? That experience I had was worth everything and all the sacrifices I did, whether it's travel or money or whatever, to like be there. Because you will talk about that forever. The money goes,
Hmm.
money comes and goes, but those memories and the 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 fact that you're standing there like with your friends and you're here and you're seeing Oasis for the first time, it's like a cost benefit. And I think if people are patient, be patient. Um, you know, if you want something, I've always said like passion sells itself, and if you're passionate about something, like it'll come to your doorstep. and you will be there. And don't let anybody take advantage of you because there's going to be tickets. It's a year away. People's plans change, people's thoughts change, people's lives change.
Well,
So,
that's it.
but yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So then talking about the concerts then, just in terms of like any ideal kind of songs that you would love to see on the set list or anything that you might think that they might play rarities, what any
Ooh,
thoughts?
wow, what a good question. What a good question. Wow, I have not thought about that. Um, Now that I'm kind of like my brain's kind of like raining down ideas, I'm thinking like Head Shrinker maybe. That would be so cool to
Yeah, that
hear.
would be cool.
Like, wow, I would love to hear Head Shrinker. What else have they not played? Uh, they play Roll with It. I would love to see Cast No Shadow.
Hmm.
I would love to see, obviously, Don't Look Back in Anger. Obviously, Live Forever, maybe like an acoustic version, maybe Noel does with like Liam or something like we haven't seen
Yeah.
before. Um, Maybe some B-sides like Carry Us All or
Oh, yeah.
Heart of a Star. I mean, this is the fan talking, so I don't know how many
Yeah.
B-sides are going to be playing to
Yeah.
stadiums, but definitely Head Shrinker. I would really love to see that, and I think they would do a really killer version of Digsy's Dinner.
Yep.
I really think that would just the madness and the frenzy of like the up and down. I just think that would really set it off. I would love to hear those two, like specifically.
Yeah, I mean, Headshrinker's a great choice as well. God, that would be great. All right,
Yeah.
so talking about Liam and Noel, then, you know, I think I've seen you've met Noel before a number of times. Is
Mhm.
that right? Have you met them both? What are they kind of like to talk to in terms of people rather than? I mean, they say never
Yeah.
been heroes, but I think you probably have. So
They're human like anybody else. They're going to be aspects of all the panoply of like personality, because we all get mad, we all get angry, we all get whatever. But anyway, I've met Noel about, I don't know, about 35 times, like that's going to like shows, and I've been backstage with him a couple of times, and I've Noel has always been like professional. I will say one thing about Noel, like professional. He does things for the fans, and he knows that his fans are important, so he's there, and that's why he signs things.
yeah,
That's why he makes himself available because he doesn't have to. I've seen him many times, like time and again. This is like classic Noel. He'll get off his car, we'll be behind a fence, and he'll walk like across to satisfy every signature in that line.
mhm,
Maybe not everything you have, but he will at least sign one item if there's a lot of people. So hands down, no, I can say like professional. And Liam as well. I've met Liam twice. I met him at the Chasing the Sun exhibition. He had like an entourage around him, so it was really hard. I said a few words to him. He was like, yeah, but he was busy. Um, and so, I haven't really had a chance to talk one-on-one with Liam,
mhm.
but everything I've experienced from Liam is, it's what we see on media. Liam is Liam. I don't think there's no, there's no facade there.
No, no,
Liam is who he is. He's really cool, and Brian and I actually saw Liam live up in DC.
yeah,
So that was wow, an experience. Like I forget about things like that. Like I'm watching a Liam show in the middle with Brian Cannon, the sleeve designer, next to me, like watching Liam on stage, and then Liam like does the encore, points to Brian, and says, "This one's for Brian Cannon." I'm just like, "What's happening to me? What's happening?" But yeah, I met them both great, and I say meet your heroes.
yeah.
Meet your heroes. Don't leave that itch unscratched, and just do it, and you'll be happy. I just remember the first time I met Noel, I was like this like about 10 minutes afterwards, I was still like this shaking like Michael Jackson fangirl. Like I was just like my whole body was like, "Whoa," because I never thought it would be a reality. So it was a lot of fun. They're really good guys.
And were they aware of your sort of memorabilia collection? I mean, I assume Noel might be, but
Well, I know Noel hasn't said it explicitly, but he knows, and I'll say why he knows because he has to approve everything that probably happens. He does approve everything that happens at Ignition, and Ignition had me out to the Noel Gallagher experience when they had a small exhibition of memorabilia, and so they had me out there as their guest to like I guess critique the exhibition, which is beyond my wildest dreams. So Noel has to approve that, and I was on their like hotel roster too. So when I checked in, Ignition had bought me my hotel, and so when I check in, it's got the whole band member, and then has like me on it. It's like that's cool. So I'm sure I think he knows who I am. I know Bonehead's brother and Bonehead's son definitely know I have the collection because I'm in contact with Bonehead's brother, and we talk. Bonehead's brother lives in Dallas, which is about a 4.5 hour drive from here, and he's been wanting to bring Jude to come check out what Jude is Bonehead's son,
Right.
uh, to see the collection. So it's interesting. It's interesting to know how the power of social media and who really has eyes on it because you don't ever really know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
And then, so just talking about, well, obviously once Oasis finished in 2008, when Liam and Noel did their solo sides, obviously Liam went and did BDI and Noel did the High Flying Birds, and then subsequently Liam went solo as well. Have you always been into that stuff as well, or did you kind of like step away a little bit from it? I know fans that didn't like BDI without a doubt, but I know fans that just didn't really get into that as deep as they did with Oasis. What was your kind of feelings with it?
Right. So I was very heavily into no, high flying birds.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like a testament to the fact that when I go in on something, I was just explaining that I just go in like hard on one thing. It's hard for me as like a personality to divide that passion equally. And I only have so much money too, so I can't travel all over the place. And another thing I was thinking about, Liam never really came to the States. And when he did come to the States, I went to his show.
Mhm.
So that was like a big barrier to, fandom as far as Liam goes. But Noel always had new material. He always had new albums. He's always touring. So as a fan, I was like, okay, I, I'm going to make an investment somewhere. So I'm going to invest on, who feeds me, right? He's feeding me like this musical like food, and this right my emotion, like it's keeping that fandom alive, that fan in me. So I was always like very heavily into high flying birds, not so much the memorabilia side of it, but for the enjoyment of the music itself. And he's just we all know. I'm not the one who has to say what kind of musical and lyrical genius he is. So to
Absolutely.
be as precocious as like he still is at after 30 years of doing it, like he's still making music. Like what?
Mm.
Like that's a testament to his genius and his creativity.
All right. So then, just sort of the last couple of questions. Then, just stepping away from Oasis and Liam and Noel. So music in general, then, and I'd say sort of like obviously we know Oasis were the Britpop era, as they called it in the 90s.
Mhm.
Were you into any other Britpop bands like the Blur, Suede, all that kind of stuff? Were you ever into that? Or into them, shall we say?
So I was, when I say into them, I wasn't, who I was really into? I was really into Elastica. I
Oh,
really loved Elastica and I really loved Portishead. Um, but I wasn't into them not even near as much as Oasis. Like I would buy the albums, I would listen to them, and I would enjoy a few tracks, and then I would like shelve them. But I do give thanks to Oasis to exposing me to the Stone Roses, who are brilliant,
yeah.
the Inspiral Carpets. I'm really good friends with like Clint Boone now because of like the association with Oasis. Elastica, Suede, um, and all the other bands that like came out of that era and that generation that I had never heard of. Like I didn't hear, I never knew those sounds. I never knew that culture, being from the States. So um, it diversified my taste from American music grunge. Oasis was the gateway. It really was. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was kind of the gateway to expand like my musical taste. That there were other things to offer. So yeah, yeah, definitely got into a few other bands.
Brilliant. All right, then. So just kind of like final thought then. If we in say 3 years' time have this conversation again in that period since we've last talked, what would you hope for Oasis like going forward? As I say, we know they've got gigs. Are you hoping for new material? Yeah.
I'm yeah, I'm always hopeful. I'm hopeful that we have more concerts, that we have more world tours, that we have more albums, that we have tracks that have been recorded by Oasis but haven't been released. Uh, Maybe we can revisit some of those. Contribution by band members. Maybe we can do, I don't know, different lineups because we all love what we knew. and we know that there was like a rotating door on the band members. So albums, band member lineups, world tours, music, and bringing new fans into the fold, I think is what I would like to see as a fan, just so that I can be able to experience it all again because it's a very precious time in my life and a lot of like not just my life, our lives.
Yeah.
So it's special. It's something that's part of the culture and part of the world now. So for them to continue doing what people love, I think that's like the ultimate reward as a fan.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you mentioned new fans there. Somebody, we were talking about it the other day, and someone said to me, a big Oasis fan as well, he said, I would love to experience Oasis again as a new fan, as these
Hmm.
young fans are going to do now. Because, I mean, obviously, a lot of people were too young to see Oasis the first time around, and like what that feeling would be. It's all right hearing the music because we can access the music whenever we want at any time of day. But to see them live for the first
Hmm.
time, I remember the first time I saw them live, I was blown away. But that feeling again would be something you can't get back as a
Yeah, yeah,
fan.
yeah. That's exactly right. There's a qualia about them being on stage that you can't replicate
Yeah,
from an album. It's something that emerges like from the experience. It's like everything all together, and like this qualia that comes in because as a result of it, it's something that you can't explain. Like words don't satisfy that. Like you try to tell your friend, oh, it was an awesome concert. They're like, yeah, 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 sure.
yeah,
But to be in the middle of it, and I'm look at me, I'm getting all excited. I'm fidgeting around, twisting my chair, just thinking about it. Uh, so yeah, see, that's what it does to people. And I know there's people all around who are even if they've listened this far, who know what I'm talking about. And if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't been there, you're gonna know what I'm talking about, thanks to Oasis.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, thanks for coming on, Brian. I appreciate
Hey,
your
thank you
time.
for having me. Thank you.
Oh, it's been brilliant. It's been great to chat to you, and like I say, hopefully we'll both get to enjoy Oasis going forward for the next few years at least.
Yeah,
See where it goes.
beautiful. Thanks for
Cool.
having me on.
Yep. Take care. Have a good one. A special thank you to the band Nova Blood for providing the music for this podcast.